Hey guys, welcome back to science, day two. We're just going to review some lab safety rules with SpongeBob and the Bikini Bottom Gang. And then we just have a couple scenarios for you to go through and decide which were the best rules. So, right now, if you could get out your science composition book and label a page, today's date, and then put lab safety rules. And you're just going to make a list of rules as we go through the presentation. So we're going to skip this one. So rule one, make sure you please read and follow all directions as they are written. If in doubt, please don't hesitate to ask your teacher for help. This is very important because sometimes chemicals don't mix and you want to make sure that you are aware of what is going on and what needs to go where and how to put it in at each time. Rule number two is never mix chemicals or perform tests without your teacher's permission. There is a chance that things may be hazardous or combustible. Remember, combustible means it goes boom. So we want to make sure that you never mix chemicals or do tests without permission. Rule three, we want to make sure we keep our work area clean and all materials, clothing, hair, papers, etc., away from flame or heat source. So it's really important that if you have long hair and we're working with a flame, you want to pull it back because we don't want to catch our hair on fire, or our papers don't need to be near a flame either. We just want to be safe at all times. When we're in the lab, rule number four is very important. You want to never run or push someone else in the lab. This rule applies at all times. We want to be as safe as possible and we don't want anybody to get hurt. Rule number five, always wear your safety goggles whenever you're working with chemicals or other substances that might get into your eyes. So make sure that we protect our eyes. We only get one set and we do not want to make sure, or we do not want to get anything in there that could burn them or injure our vision. Rule number six states that if a chemical gets on your skin or clothing, please immediately notify your teacher. Most of the stuff we work with in the lab is not harmful, but some things are irritable to our skin. So we want to make sure that we get it off immediately and go to the nurse if necessary. Rule number seven, immediately notify your teacher if you get cut or have another injury when performing an experiment. Please, I will not get upset, but I want to make sure that we get you the correct medical care. So let me know as soon as something happens. Rule number eight, pretty straightforward. Never reach across the flame because when you reach across the flame, you can get burnt. Rule number nine, never look directly into a test tube when mixing or heating chemicals. When you're heating stuff, there is a chance that stuff could come out of the test tube. We do not want to look into it and get it in our face, burn our face, or burn our eyes. We also don't want to ever point it at anybody else because we don't want to risk burning them. So that leads us to rule number 10. Always point a test tube away from you and others when heating it over a flame or other heat source. Rule number 11 states, never to smell a chemical directly from the container. Wave your hand over the opening of the container and waft the fumes towards your nose. You never want to put your nose directly over that container because you have the chance of hurting your nose and your sense of smell. Rule number 12, never taste a chemical unless you are instructed to do so by your teacher. Chances are I'm probably not going to instruct you to taste a chemical. Rule number 13, never use broken or chipped glassware. As I said in the previous video, we have plenty of glassware, so if you notice something is broken or chipped, please let me know. I will replace it for you. Sometimes it gets chipped in between classes, so you want to make sure that you let me know. It has the potential to shatter when you're working with it. Rule number 14, keep the lids on bottles and containers when not in use. We don't want to risk knocking things over and spilling them on somebody else or our area and our papers. Rule number 15, Please be sure to wash your hands before and after an experiment, and also before you leave the lab. We don't want to go to lunch and have chemicals on our hand and then transfer them to our mouth. Rule number 16, always clean up your work area and equipment after the experiment is completed. It must be washed and returned to its proper place. I will always give you instructions as to how I want you to clean up and where things need to go. That's it for this presentation. There is an attached SpongeBob Lab Scenarios document that you are now going to complete. You're going to open that with Cami and fill in the answers to the doc, and then download that to your computer, and then upload it back to your drive and turn it in. Thank you. See you tomorrow.